Hey friends, Joe here interrupting this episode of Book Lounge by Libby with just a few quick updates before we dive into my conversation with Kathleen Illustrated. It's fantastic. You won't want to miss it. She is truly such a joy and a delight. Um, Andrew, if you don't mind, can you put a timestamp for the folks who are watching of where they can jump to if they want to skip this message, but like some quick updates, which also includes things about season 3, which is starting next week. So please consider at least listening to some of my rambling before we dive into the episode. And of course, for those of you who are listening, time codes are all in the show notes. So anyway, Andrew, pop it on the screen here if you don't mind. Thank you very much. But hello, everyone. Welcome. Like I said, I'm interrupting this episode because this week I recorded with Kathleen Illustrated, and I recorded not from my usual spot. So if you are watching the video on the Libby app YouTube channel or on Spotify, just wanted to call out, you'll get to see a little view of my home library. My heater broke this week, and I had some lovely people putting in a new heater, and the location of my recording home office is directly next to the heater. So I was a little displaced. So I set up a temporary spot. So for those of you watching, you'll see a different background. If you didn't know you could watch a video, check it out on Spotify, check it out on the Libby app YouTube channel, linked in the description. And for those of you listening, I apologize if there's any background noises, if there's any hammering or drilling or whatever sounds of getting a new heater installed, maybe. And I am really sorry about that. Hope you'll understand. Additionally, it was a beautiful day, and seems like, of course, it was like a 70-degree day, the day that I needed to get a new heater. And as I'm recording this, it's now like 28 degrees. So, glad I had it done when I did. But I had the house open and the windows open to warm it back up because it had just been so cold. And so there may be some like street noises because I'm so used to my beautifully quiet studio that I didn't think about those noises. So again, I'm so sorry. And I thank you for understanding when these things happen. Okay. Now, as far as season 3, it's next week. I can't believe we're already here. I will keep this brief, but just some quick updates for you. Based on some great survey feedback, I'm adjusting what episodes will look like in season 3. Instead of one long episode broken into 2 segments, you're now going to get 2 episodes per week. So on Mondays, you'll get the author book industry panel conversation on a theme. And then on Thursday, you'll get the book recommendations that match that topic. So all the content you already enjoy, just in a less intimidating sized package. Additionally, you can continue to expect our monthly book pick episodes to air during the season as well. I know I didn't do them during seasons 1 and 2, and they were very much missed. So those will return and release as close to the end of the current month as possible without interrupting the season's flow. So while I can say that like those bookish conversations are happening on Monday and Thursday will be book recommendations, I'm going to be a little more bonus episode release when it comes to things like May books. So May books will be released on April 29th. Which is a Wednesday, I think, but June books will be on May 29th, which is a Friday. On May 29th, which is a Friday. So just kind of know it will be as close to the end of the month as possible without interrupting either a Monday or a Thursday. All right. So that's it for me on updates. Make sure you're subscribed or following the show so you never miss an episode. And again, season 3 starts next week on Monday, April 13th, we will be diving into dazzling debuts. And then on Thursday, the 16th, you will get some incredible debut recommended reads. All right. Now enough of me. Let's get into more of me, but on topic. Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. My name's Joe, and I'm so happy you're here. Today, I'm joined by the delightful Kathleen Illustrated. Kathleen is an illustrator, thrifter, and YouTuber. Her channel is a cozy place to take a break from the world and get inspiration for your own projects to come. And of course, you can find all of Kathleen's links in the show notes. But welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh my gosh, the pleasure is literally all mine. No one else can have it this time. It's mine.
And I'll take that. I happily. Uh, for anyone who may not know you, could you share a little bit about who you are, what you do online, all that good self promo stuff?
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm Kathleen. Hello, nice to meet you. And I like to describe myself as kind of just exploring self expression through creativity and sustainability. A lot of times that ends up being thrifting because that's all of those good things, but I'm also an illustrator. I love books. So we talk about books a lot in my YouTube channel. And yeah, I just like to make stuff and other people like to too. So it's a good time.
The sustainability is, I think, my favorite part because, like, even with yesterday's video, just the like getting into the thrift early, of course, maybe I don't even know what day it is anymore. And of course, they'll hear this later. The magic of recording times. But just the concept of like getting into the store early and picking through your favorites and not being afraid to make a mistake or that
Yeah.
like it's a very Bob Ross approach of like happy accidents.
Thank you. What an
Yeah.
honor.
That's how I think of it because when I start to go through and I go, what am I going to donate? What am I going to clear house? It's also that like, well, why didn't I like that one thing? And could I not take a pair of scissors to it and maybe have a much better time?
And you can, because we have free will. We should enjoy it while we have it.
We have free will. And I think of like, like precious moments figurines rattling around all the shelves. Why not take one home and paint it goth if that's going to make it fit your aesthetic? Like, do we need more landfill taken up? No. And art is so healing.
Yeah,
When did you kind of like fall into the sustainable journey, but also not being afraid to make your own messes and find your own creative path?
man, I think I'm one of those super rare, maybe mind broken people that I just love making mistakes and it doesn't really bother me. Imposter syndrome doesn't know my name and I don't
Don't
know
know
it.
her. Yep.
So it's always kind of been this way. And I think it's because from a young age, I've used creating things and art making as like a self-soothing and expressive outlet. That's why I'm all about self-expression, whether that's through art or through style. It's always felt good to do, and it's helped kind of unravel the tension or anxieties I've had in my body and my brain through physical action. And it just ended up coming out as art. So I'm very thankful for that. But it's been with me forever. And as far as sustainability goes,
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a Earth kid. Um,
Yes. Captain Planet hit me hard too.
yes, outside all the time as a kid. And I agree, we don't need any more of the landfill. And I think it's also just a activity and a practice of just asking yourself these kinds of questions always. Like, do I like this? Why don't I like this? Do I need this? How can I change it? It's really kind of a grounding and present mindset that's just meditative to have.
Grounding is such an important way to put it, I think, because, right, having been watching your videos and incorporating so much of that into my own lifestyle, it gives me a different appreciation of the things I have and what I need. That I don't know, there is like a newfound balance that seems to come once you go, well, I brought this into my house for a reason. Why am I keeping it? Or what am I like, where am I releasing it back into the world? There's a lot of like new consciousness that comes from that,
Hmm.
but also a lot of peace to be found.
Yeah. And I think that's partly because you're discovering parts about yourself as you do this. Like you're examining yourself, you're examining what makes you feel like you, what doesn't feel so like you, how can you change things to feel more like you. So I like to do it physically with what I wear and what
Yes.
I make, but people do that all the times, like all the time with the books they choose to read or the media they consume and what they do in the world.
I love your takes on fashion.
Thank you.
Yes,
Right
I
back at you.
oh, thank you. I love color. I life's too short to be boring
There
is
you go.
my always response because people go, "Oh, I love your beard." And that's just what comes out of my mouth because it is the answer. And part of it for me is I love the opportunity that if someone was walking down the street and they saw this just giant pink blob going by and they were having a bad day and now they're at least going like, well, that was something.
Yes.
Maybe I'm just justifying all the manic panic I purchase, but but at the same time, it gives me something as much as it puts something back out there in the world as well.
Yeah. Be the reason someone says, well, that was something every day. I love that.
I mean, the Ohio struggle. There
Hmm.
are there are many a days I get the lead paint stare of what is that? And then there are days where it's like, oh, that was fun. I mean, truly was walking through my neighborhood with my dog one day and someone said, I see you guys all the time. I keep meaning to ask you, are you like a clown? I was like, now of course this was an older woman, of course.
Okay. Okay.
And I eventually translated that to mean like, oh, am I a performer? Got it. That's what you meant. But I was like, yeah, I am
I
a clown.
am. Thanks for asking.
I am a clown. I would very much like someone to smile when they see me. So, the only downside of podcasting is, big headphone, no earring opportunities.
Yes.
But one day,
I wonder if
one day,
there's a
maybe I'll
DIY
just,
solution.
right, like design them to stick to my headphones.
Wow. I think you
Video
just solved it.
concept.
Hmm.
But can I outsource that to you? I'll just send you a bunch of earrings.
Sure. Easy.
But right, easy. What does your space online mean to you? Because I think with so much that's been going on in the world, it has been such a relief to be able to turn to these places where it is just like it's a cozy escape. You can walk away for 30 minutes, for an hour, for whatever. And it's a level of accountability, but it's also a chance to just take a breath.
Yeah. It's a fine line to walk between totally unplugging and staying present. As far as what the space means to me, I mean, it's everything. One of the huge reasons why I even started making YouTube videos is because I was lonely. I had just moved back to my home city from California. It was mid-pandemic. I wasn't seeing anybody. And I was like, oh, this is a bit lonesome. So what if I start to make videos and find people like me out in the world? And it's turned into this incredible, beautiful thing that I think has turned into a community for others as well. So hopefully healing some of that loneliness for other people. It's incredible.
And while it started as something for yourself, it still remains such a selfless act. I think of the work you're doing now with the wallpaper collections. So of course those will also be linked. But for February, the part of the proceeds were donated, and the same thing for March. And you're picking different meaningful organizations to fund with these earnings. What drives that? What dedicates that?
I think a big part of it is a lot of times people are paralyzed by inaction,
Yes.
especially when there are so many different causes that they would like to participate in or try to make better in the world. So I think just creating an avenue that people can participate in, like, here, would you like a beautiful thing and to also have your money go towards a good thing? I'll make that part easy for you. You just have to say yes. And hopefully that can just enact them to take their own actions. Like, they don't need to buy a digital wallpaper from me. They can do their own thing, but maybe it's just maybe a first step or an easy step for them.
Right. It's the incentive of like, oh well, I do also get something from this, but also I'm with you. I suffer, like, as I sit with too many books behind me. I suffer from that choice paralysis. When my boyfriend
Yeah.
says, "What are we going to watch tonight?" I'm like,
Everything.
"Your guess is as good as mine. I guess it's time to rewatch Charmed for the 80th time." Like
That's a good
that's
option. Yeah.
that I love that thought because again, it's just you're feeding, you're building, and it goes all the way back to that Earth kid. It goes back to like we're supporting each other, we're supporting the planet, we're just kind of we're all living in this space together and being accountable and being present, but also getting the chance to step away.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're constantly inundated with things that will steal our attention. I know I'm a broken record when I say that. I know how like trite that is. But I think all of these things, whether it's taking part in a cause that you love consuming a video that is interesting and then going out and making something. It's all an activity of examining where you are right now, being in the moment, and then moving forward. No more of that just glazed over scrolling and not doing anything.
Right. It's that like wake up, open your eyes,
Yeah.
let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Now on that, with so many things to choose from, we move into the fact that you are quite a reader. That
Yes.
like you
Sure
are
am.
a voracious reader. And I reached out to you in a cold email on a day off while I was watching your video of that day. And in that video, you showed off a giant to be read pile from the library and mentioned that you don't like to own a ton of books. And we'll get into that. But I wanted to dive into you as a reader. So like looking all the way back, do you remember what first got you into reading?
Joe, I do. I have a great answer for you.
Oh, I love that.
So my mom basically taught kids how to read for her entire career. So yeah, I remember her teaching me how to read. It was like this big, exciting moment. I remember getting my first library card. It was like totally a rite of passage. I remember writing my signature and not knowing how to write cursive at that age and it being like this big loopy mess. Yeah, my life got a lot more fun after I got that library card.
They're powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the cheapest club membership you can ever have.
100%. And back to the kind of how I've used art and as a form of self-expression and getting rid of anxiety in my brain and body, reading was also that. As a kid, I would read all day some days just when I felt like I needed to take a break. I have 2 older brothers, and one of their favorite ways to totally dunk on me was to say, "My name's Kathleen and I like reading." Like they were mocking me. But I'm like, that's actually the coolest thing about me. I don't know if you know this.
Right. I know that pain well.
Mm-hmm.
I am the baby. I have 2 older siblings, and
I get it.
absolutely
Turns you into a reader, apparently.
Apparently, and they're, you know, they're 10 and 12 years older than me, so I was not just the younger sibling, I was the baby.
The babyest. Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna dunk on them right back, and now my sister's coming to me for recommendations.
Wow.
So look
They
who's
were
reading
right.
now.
Yeah, look who knows how to read. Me.
Look who knows how to read. Me and also you. Were there any childhood books or characters that felt like companions to you since you would spend those long days reading? Or was it truly just, what were you reading then? Was it everything?
Oh my gosh. It was everything that was popular as a 90s kid to be reading. My dad read the entire like Chronicles of Narnia series to us out loud. So that was definitely powerful. But I think for a specific character, I got into manga at a really young age as well. And I've loved Cardcaptor Sakura for my entire life. I have a bunch of Cardcaptor manga up in the corner, but she's my girl.
If I could turn the camera around right
Yes.
now, I would, because mine, yes.
Yeah, she is me. I am her.
Every time.
Like to be a magical girl, I feel like part of what I do in my life in my 30s is to become that magical girl. And if people who don't know what that is, it's like the Sailor Moon or the regular girl that turns into a superhero. I think we can all be that if we want to be.
I think we can absolutely all be the magical girl that we want to see in the world. And I have to like book rec to you. If you haven't read A Magical Girl Retires.
No.
You should check it out. It's by Park Solan. It's Korean lit in translation. It's gorgeous. Yes.
Is it a graphic novel or?
No, it is.
Wow.
It is just a normal old novel.
Okay.
I know, rare for me, because usually when I get the opportunity to throw a graphic novel or manga out, I'm doing it. But
that's awesome.
So got it. So it was that kind of like it blends with the escapism. It blends with the fantasy. And how did that transform you as a reader later in life? Where did you go from there?
I mean, we could say that it turned me into a fan fiction reader before it turned me into a real lit fic reader. But maybe that's not a rabbit hole that we need to go down right now.
For real. And you can, but
yeah. But it's really, I followed my whimsy. I followed the types of reading I like, which typically ends up being fantasy and sci-fi. And in these last couple of years where I've been making YouTube videos and doing a lot of crafting, just been continuing to soak up as many books as I can.
And do you have a path or a process to what you read? What's your usual journey? What do
I
you
would
typically
say
gravitate toward?
that my journey is typically not like social media recommendations.
Yep.
And not
Hey, I get
because
that.
I'm like not like other girls or anything, but I just can't trust other people. I don't know why. If I don't know them, I don't know their tastes.
Absolutely.
I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth, basically.
No, I get that. Like, there are very few people I take recommendations from because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I either have to know you to some degree or you have to know me to some degree. Because if this is the book you recommend to everyone, well, I'm not everyone. I am not like other girls.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
I'm not going to want to read that. But
Yeah.
of course, as the person in marketing, I also struggle with how some books are propositioned and pushed and presented.
Yeah.
But sometimes that path of like, this book is blowing up makes me find the one that it was inspired by or the one that was way better. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
my journey down a dark and winding rabbit hole in a dust covered library to find like the one book to rule them all.
Yes, the origin, the singularity. For me,
Mhm.
that's often found on Reddit. I'll search, I liked The Martian. What are other books
Yes.
like The Martian? And it's like, have you ever read the Expanse series? No, I will be doing that immediately.
Absolutely. That is my deep dark secret as well. As I'm like prepping for episodes, I go, okay, what are we reading? What do other
Mm-hmm.
people say? And it depends. You have to be careful the journeys you're going on because when you do want something like The Martian, absolutely. When you're looking a little more broad strokes, you'll pass like the same 20 replies that is a book that someone read when they were 15 and maybe hasn't picked up another one since,
Yeah.
but
They're like,
glad
have
they
you ever read
loved
The
it.
Alchemist? It's like,
Thank
okay.
you. Great.
That actually
Now,
just happened to me with that
no.
big stack of TBR books that you saw in that video. I was looking for short stories specifically and like scary ones. And a lot of the ones that were recommended as the best ones of all time, I wouldn't consider them the best of all time, but thank you for your input.
Right. And I just want to be like, if you have the energy to comment, I would love for you to channel that energy instead to find another one. Like
Yeah.
just try a second one. It is a struggle to find short stories because I don't know. I feel like either the world doesn't know quite how to express them to people and how we get them in the hands of the people who are looking for them.
Yeah. And I feel like it's also just hit or miss quality or content wise. Like that's why I love them so much, is because it's where our authors really kind of explore those off the wall little nuts of an
Yes.
idea. But sometimes it goes a little places you
It's
wouldn't expect.
it's the concept that they're like, I couldn't turn this into a whole book, but
Mm-hmm.
I can wrap this up in 50 pages.
Yeah,
Not even.
totally. And that's part of what I love the most about reading is that novelty seeking, where it's like, I want to read something I've never read before. I want to be shocked and awed. So with those short stories, you get some very shocking and awesome ideas sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Have you and now I'm just like going through I will have some recommendations I'll have to follow up with you
Please.
on. I just read like a fun short collection that they were all tied together in like the general sense, but they're all kind of like vignettes, I guess, so to say. Um, Reminded me a lot of Holic from Clamp, the Cardcaptor
Yeah.
Sakura people. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of energy of like, oh, there's a creepy place where we put haunted things, and it's like each story
Ooh,
was the experience, but title isn't in my brain right now.
fair.
Or have you read like Strange Houses and
No.
the Uketsu? Okay, there's three of those out. Incredible time. Not short stories, but they're short books. So,
Cool.
I'll give you a list later.
Thanks.
Do you find, since of course at that point you were looking for short stories, do you have mood reading tendencies? I'm a big mood reader. What are some of your things you fall into?
Gosh, I am currently in something I've fallen into. So I'm not so much of a mood reader, more of
Hmm.
like if I'm reading something, I have to keep reading that type of thing
Ooh,
forever
okay.
until
Yep.
something like jostles
Breaks
me
you
out
out
of
of
it.
it.
So for me, I've been reading the Stormlight Archive series for the last like 2 years, and I just can't stop. Like there's more to read, so I have to read it. I have my own
Mhm.
issues with it, but I am deep in the Sanderstorm, and I need help to get out.
Oh, I wish I could help you get out of there, but like that's a hard one to break out of when you're in a series, a long established series,
Yes.
and then you're just like, so then are you finding that it's not just continuing the series, you're also looking for the read-alikes, the book, the similars?
Yeah, like I need an epic. It needs to have fantasies, a little bit of magic, but I have been trying to break myself out of that with the short stories, with the little novellas to kind of
Yeah.
reinsert me into reality.
But so that childhood love of like thinking of the Narnias and thinking of
Hmm.
our magical girls, that continued with you.
Oh,
Like it
yeah.
wasn't, there was no jumping ship that was the like, oh no, I found it early and I'm ride or die.
Yeah. And I think that's partly the novelty seeking. Like, I want
Yes.
to explore different worlds. I want to be in places that aren't like the place that I'm existing in. So that's fantasy and sci-fi for me. Also, as an illustrator and a manga lover, like I love art and I love fantastical things. So that's where my comfort is definitely.
How often does something that you're reading start to inspire your work?
I would say often in spirit, but not always in like execution. So, for example, if I'm making a craft, I'm probably not making it about fairies and magic, although maybe I am because that's very cool.
You never know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the gasoline I intake to just keep me going.
Absolutely. It's refueling the whimsy that
Hmm.
translates through the lens of your style rather than I read this, now I need to figure out how to make a replica of this exact
Hmm.
lamp.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you ever feel stuck? Does a book ever make you just feel kind of like, or when was the last time you really had to sit with the thoughts from a story where you were just
Mm,
like, I can't get this out of my head. I can't get out of this space.
yeah. That happens a lot after I finish an intense or specifically fantastical story. Like I read Piranesi
Yes.
recently and I was like, I live there now in my brain. I'm stuck in the labyrinth, but I don't mind that. Like I love mulling things over and being stuck in places. I love to also DNF books. So if
It's my
I'm stuck,
favorite activity.
yes, I feel so powerful. I'm just like, bye, see ya.
Right. I I wish I could understand the guilt, but I lived enough years where it triggered like full on reading ruts for me
Yeah,
that I'd have read like 10 books the last month and then one would drag on for like a month and a half. And I was just like, I don't want to read this, but I can't give up. I'm not allowed to
yes,
give up on a book. And then now I could be 5 minutes into a book and go, next. I can't
next.
do it. Not this
Hmm.
one.
Yeah, it's like you
And
look up and look around and you're like, no one's going to be mad at me. I can just keep on trucking.
there's no quiz for this.
No.
Like, and even if it's your book for book club, if you're a book club girly, you can bring that to the table. I
Yeah, it's
have had,
actually good.
right. I've had many a great book club conversations where I went, couldn't finish it. Tell me why I should try. Or even just the like, this is what I didn't like. Oh, you liked that. Like, it really fosters conversation
Hmm.
when the book can be polarizing in that way, when it
Yep.
is more just the like, because yeah, it's fair for you to say, "Oh, not my taste," but think on that, and then like let's figure out how to find what your taste is.
Yeah. Or maybe it could be your taste. Like maybe you learn something and you grow a little bit and then you come back to it and you're like, I actually really do like this.
There are times where my opinion on a book changes weeks after I've read it. Like if I'm
Hmm.
still thinking about that book, yeah, I don't ever actually rate books, but like if I was like, oh yeah, it was probably like a 3, people could read it, and then I think about it for 2 weeks, I'm like, I guess you're a 5 now because
Hmm.
I'm still thinking about you.
Yeah. Powerful.
Books are power, books are magic. And on that note, why don't you want to own books? Why don't you want to own a ton of books?
This is the whole reason you wanted to be on your
The whole
podcast.
exactly. I sent that email just so I could get that answer. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because clearly, not just books. I'm a trinket person. I am the thrift goblin. I am
Yes.
trinket pilled. This is my childhood wishbone. Like,
Oh, is that who that is?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh yeah. What's the story?
Wishbone, you're so handsome.
Licensed and everything. Who knew? Who knew? It never pains to never throw anything away. But I could have also just as easily done this from my Barbie room. So as a collector,
Mm-hmm.
I need to know.
Man, isn't it interesting how some things you're like, I need 7,000 of this, and then other things you're like, couldn't
I
be
need none.
bothered.
Yep.
Really, I think part of it is moving across the country multiple times and being like, I don't need this tome. It's going to make my life harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so practical. But
Fair.
I think also I'm not like a rereader. I'm not a re-movie watcher. So I just like to enjoy things and then let them move on, basically.
I love that. I don't have an ounce of that in me. I am a rereader, not for everything, but for quite a few things. But I mean, speaking of our love of Cardcaptor Sakura, the amount of those are worn out volumes in the collection. There are also other series that I used to be like, oh, well, this feels like the end of the school year going into summer. And so even long past being in any form of like curriculum, I would still be like, well, it is the beginning of June. I should probably reread that. Like there were just patterns that developed, and a lot of those have fallen away over the years. But that makes even just the practicality of I don't want to move books again.
Yeah,
I
know.
I moved once when I bought my house and I moved into it.
You'll be there forever.
And I will be there forever because I'm not moving these books.
There you go. See, if it were me, I'd be like, come take
Sold
them.
with the house.
Everybody, yeah, exactly. Comes with a library. Enjoy.
I mean, well,
Cool estate sale.
Honestly, when I go, it's going to be the wildest estate sale.
That's the goal, truly.
But honestly, there are days where I'm like, sure, I have a china cabinet in my dining room, and what's in it? Anime figures. There's Sailor Moon in there because that's the fine wares we have. Yep. But now to kind of think of that as like, at the end of a long, happy life, I'm still going to be a clown because I'm going to be someone's very confused, very exciting estate sale. Oh
my gosh. The goal for it to be the reason that someone says, oh, that was something that day.
My new raison d'etre was just like, oh, that was something. Yeah. I experienced that. Do you have a defining moment in your reading journey? I know going from like that very beautiful, emotional, remembering mom teaching you how to read and dad reading C.S. Lewis kind of out loud to y'all. Do you have touchstones or moments that you go like, this was big for me?
I did have a long period of time, basically like through college and early adulthood, where I was not reading. I was just focused on other stuff, starting my career. And then something kind of tickled at the back of my mind, like, wait, I used to like to read, I think. Yeah. So the thing that got me back into it was I think on Reddit, probably looking up like what's good to read right now. And I actually got the books mixed up. I picked up the wrong book and I was like, I think this is what it was called. And I ended up picking up Red Rising by Pierce Brown.
Yep. And
started reading it. And it's the kind of book that you can just chew through and it's kind of just chronically readable. And that just totally launched me into the second phase of voracious reading in my adult life. So that kind of accident and just being open to being like, I don't know what this is, but I'm just going to read it was life-changing.
I love to hear that because I also, in that like college, post-college, setting up my professional life, had the same thing happen where it was just, I don't know how to read anymore.
Yeah,
or
I forgot.
There was like a bit of that punishment of, I didn't read the books I was supposed to read for class, so you can't read that one for fun. And, and you slowly break it down over time. But But right, sometimes it is just finding the one book to make you go, I need to make time for this. I
Yeah.
want to make time for this.
It creates a little pocket in your life that it can just have reading in it for the rest of your life. And that's pretty magical.
Do you get into audiobooks at all?
Oh, yeah. I'm always listening to audiobooks when I'm doing pretty much anything.
Yes. It's the secret. That's
Yeah.
like the secret sauce to all projects, all creativity.
Yeah, people are like, you have a full-time job and a YouTube channel. Like, how do you read so many books? I'm like, because I read them with my ears mostly when I'm just doing other things. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite narrator?
Oh, gosh.
I know.
I was going to say I have kind of a hot take.
Please.
Is that okay? Okay, it's not that hot, I don't think.
No,
I actually have a lot of hot takes about reading that maybe we'll sprinkle in, but...
So I'm like, hey, hit me with all of them.
Okay. In general, I have a hard time getting into audiobooks because of the narrators when they do voices. Like when they do a specific voice for a character, it's almost like an immediate DNF for me, which it's my own problem. And I know people like the voices, but it's hard for me. I don't know why.
No, I respect that because I listen at 2 times speed. No matter what. I do not start, like where they intended it. I rush into it. And when I recently learned that people were like, oh, well, I always start at 1 so I can hear how they wanted to lay the groundwork. And then from there, I get up to my normal speed. And they're like, I do that for an hour and then 1.5. And then I'm at my usual 3. And I'm just like, what? No.
The ramp up.
Go. And so I think that for me starting to listen faster solved a lot of my issues with not with narrators, but when I wasn't necessarily vibing, I could get away with a lot more because all of a sudden, like 2 times is just enough to take them past whatever they might be doing or affecting to it.
Yeah, the chipmunkiness of the voice just kind of covers every stylistic choice.
Exactly. Oh, dramatic pause? Didn't know it was there.
Wasn't dramatic, sorry.
So we didn't take a pause. That was a blink. I took a quick inhale on that.
I'm the kind of person that I'm 1 times speed always.
Whoa.
If it gets faster, I'm like, you're talking really fast. Why are you talking like that?
I mean, it took me a long time. I used to live at 1, and then there was a book that was about to return. And I was like, I got to get through that. So I took it up to 1.25, and then I just forgot that it was there. And that became my new normal, which is basically no adjustment at all. 1.25 is the same book. And then one day I read a book that I was like, I was almost done with it. And that's when I started to hit the I'm about to DNF. But we were 85, 90%, somewhere between 85 and 90% through. And I was just like, at this is the point where I can no longer DNF. And so that cranked it up to 1.5. And from there, all bets were off. Once I had broken the threshold, it was
you had to hit the NOS. You had a need for speed. You just had to go.
Family was calling. I had to hit the NOS.
Yeah. Man, I actually, back to your original question of favorite narrators. I'm sorry, I don't know their names right now, but
the series is okay.
The narrator for the Ancillary Justice series by Ann Leckie, really awesome because it's a sci-fi story, but there are a lot of different people from a lot of different places, but they're all alien or non-existent places. So there are a lot of accents that don't actually exist that this narrator uses that I thought was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is the joy of the kind of fantasy sci-fi when it is you're doing your own thing with this.
Yeah.
And I'm having a great time watching it. What are some of your other reading hot takes? Now I'm just thinking about that. Give me another one. Hit me with it.
Okay. Not liking when narrators do voices is one of them. Loving to DNF books is another.
Which that I just celebrate.
Yeah, thank you. It's very brave of me to admit.
It is. Believe me, I get it.
One of my other ones that I probably feel strongest about is that I really dislike dislikable characters, which on the surface is well, obviously you don't like them, but it's but I won't read the
as
book.
like as a vehicle, as a literary device.
Yes.
It's the like, if I can't get through it, it's one thing when they're so villainous, you see them like twisting the ends of their mustache kind of thing, like different story. We can be into that. But when it's just like, oh, you're mean, nasty, evil, I don't want to hear about.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I want to read about people that I'm rooting for. And I know that's like a very simplistic and easy kind of path
No.
to take. But I don't know, if I'm going to read, I want to read stuff I enjoy.
I know we've got like the girlies who love their villains and they want the villain origin story and they want to know, but like, yeah, it's not for me either. It's like I didn't need to know what President Snow went through pre-Hunger Games to make him the way he was. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need sympathy for the bad guy. Like,
Right. It's like, actually,
I'm okay.
I'd rather just read the pre-story about him not being evil. And then once he turns evil, I'll just go somewhere else.
Close the book.
Yeah.
Move on to something new.
Yeah.
Looking at the library, since we love the library, this is the source of so much of our joy. Do you have any standout memories? I'm sure you've got many a like gem of a library memory in your life.
Oh my goodness. So I would walk by the library every day after school on my way home, and I would stop in almost every day too. So
Yes.
I'll give a shout out to my local library. It was the Bexley Public Library in Columbus, Ohio. Beautiful library, sandstone,
Yeah.
just comforting. I still remember the smell. But yeah, I would hang out there. And my mom would call me on my little flip phone that I had as a 12-year-old and be like, "Are you kidnapped?" "No, I'm at the library."
Are you with us? Like,
"Yes, are you with us?
yes, I've
Join
been
us."
kidnapped by books.
Mhm.
I am well, mother.
Yeah, which, I mean, as a parent, I could only wish that my child would get stuck at the library. Like, that's great.
Right. That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
That makes so much sense. I love a library kid. I was that library kid as well. Mom and I were there every day. And you know, when I was finally working age, it was like, well, you're here every day. We might as well give you a job. So
Is that
then
your
I started
origin
shelving
story?
books. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's my origin story. I used to put away all the James Pattersons. Like,
Man.
yeah.
I worked at a Barnes & Noble in college.
Oh, the dream.
Yeah, I was surrounded by all my favorite things all the time, so much so that I would be reading on my shift and wouldn't catch people shoplifting right in front of me. And I would be reprimanded because on the security camera, I'm just sitting there, like literally
Just
nose
flipping.
deep in a book, and people are like walking out with medical textbooks right in front of me.
Well, hopefully they are successful doctors now and they are paying it back in their own way.
Yeah.
Also, medical textbooks, too expensive.
I was going to say criminally, literally expensive. So, like, do what you must.
Honestly. And you can claim innocence on that one. You were just reading a good book.
Yeah, what do you expect? I'm in a bookstore.
Right. What else can I do? I mean, and easy access to coffee. Oh, endless dreams. Having traveled quite a bit, what do you look for in a library? What do you look for in your bookstores? Like, what's the gem vibe? Like, what makes you go, that is a branch I want to be in?
Right. Well, one of the biggest things I love about a library is that it's all secondhand books. Like, everything has probably been read before. There's a general worn in feeling to things that love, which is also maybe a reason that I don't love owning a bunch of books, because I'm like,
They're
I don't need
fresh
these.
and yeah.
I want the books that other people have already read and enjoyed, and then I can give it back as well. So yeah, that general kind of cozy energy. I also love an open space, like a high ceiling with perhaps a ladder, a rolling ladder, if I'm lucky.
Well, and libraries speak to your goal as well of their access. There's so much you can borrow. It is not just books. I know the listeners are tired of me on this soapbox, but like, you can borrow endless things. There are maker spaces. There are resources galore. Like, we love our libraries. You know, we fund them for a reason. And it's so important. Do you have some of your all-time favorite books in your brain? What are some of your all-time faves?
Okay. I will start by re-mentioning the Ancillary Justice series. Um, Basically, a story about a robot who kind of wants to be human. And I love those kinds of stories. I think it's part of the potential feeling of otherness growing up and exploring what it means to feel like a person. Along the same lines, the Murderbot series by Martha Wells.
Love.
Yes. Love that it got its due enjoyment with the TV series, but Chef's Kiss, one of my favorites.
So good.
Yeah. And then I haven't mentioned so far in this conversation, but I'm also a huge horror fan. Yeah, was reading Stephen King way too young, unfortunately, but also perhaps fortunately. So the Dark Tower series by Stephen King was one of my first kind of transitions into fantasy after only reading horror for a lot of my adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the books that I'd like to recommend to people that I know like a bit of a freaky book or a yucky book, as I like to say, not a feel good at all, but it's called Between Two Fires by Nathan Ballingrud. Basically a medieval horror story. It's dark. I would definitely check out content warnings, but it's not like any horror book you've ever read, probably.
Oh, I need to jump into that immediately. Yeah. I am a huge horror reader. It developed, I've always been a lover of horror.
Yeah.
I just never recognized it was a genre that was so easily accessible. And I think that's because maybe for years, especially when we were growing up, it was not so easily placed. Unless it was Stephen King, you didn't really know. And it was just oh, well, that's a Stephen King book. And there wasn't an adjective for it. So now I'm just it's all the time deep in the horror vein.
Yeah.
But that's also usually how I because I don't love historical fiction, but my vein in is with the genres I do love. And so that sounds perfect for that.
Yes. Oof. There's also a short story collection by the same author called North American Lake Monsters. Yeah, It's very Midwest vibes.
Yep.
Very good. So if you want something a little shorter to just test the waters with the Ballingrud, highly recommend.
I'll go sit next to Lake Erie and read it.
That you're going to probably encounter a monster. Yeah.
Do you have any books that you do reread? I know you're not a rereader, but are there any that you ever have even considered returning to?
Gosh, I'm trying to think if I've literally ever reread a book.
No, I love, as a chronic rereader, I love that answer because I'm just it's so just, to me, it's foreign, but it's...
Yes. Do you feel like you're talking to an alien?
No, because it is what everyone else does, I guess.
Yeah. Man, I think the closest I've ever gotten to really rereading books is more looking at art books. So the art of, I have this really great art book. It's The Art of Adventure Time, the TV show, but it's specifically the title cards because each of them are hand painted.
Because they're the best.
Yeah. Yeah. So just kind of using them more of a resource, a visual dictionary. But as far as words, once I've read them,
they're in, they're out.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's what I'm going to try to channel. I less rereading, more get through more books. Is there anything you are currently coming this year that you're looking forward to picking up from the library?
Gosh, I know there is potentially a new Stephen King Dark Tower-esque book that I think he just announced. It's coming out in October.
Ooh.
I believe. What if this is fake news? I'm so sorry if it is. But
we will simply do no research because that's the power of the internet. We don't have to fact check anymore.
What do you expect me to do? But as far as...
So Stephen King still stands as an auto borrow author for you. You're still at least when it matches what you loved from him.
Yeah. He's my uncle that I don't really get along with, but still love him.
But man, sometimes he puts out a banger. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I do look forward to maybe he'll write a book that's not about another author. maybe he'll write a book about something new. We'll see.
We can only hope and dream.
We can only hope. But as far as other new things, I'd really just like to get, I think, more into graphic novels and manga. This
Okay.
year, I've been reading The Summer Hikaru Died, like jumping into
Ooh,
the visual novel of it because they have the anime. And I was like, I'm going to need more of this. So
yes.
finishing that and hopefully continuing my journey.
What do you go for in manga?
Oh, man. So I know you know this. Manga's so full of tropes and classic things that maybe I don't want to read about. Maybe they're kind of boring, but I do love manga that just is trying something different, whether
Okay.
it's
You're
really
looking for like
strange.
the weird.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the weird. Um, I want to know something that I didn't know before, and however that comes about, that's how it comes about.
You're in for it.
Hmm.
I ask that because I am the person keeping slice of life manga alive.
That's also
like
good.
like I don't know why, but something about like these are just people living a normal life. And like
Yes.
sold. Sign me up.
Yeah. Oh my
I would
gosh.
love to know.
That's almost all I read. I used to read a lot of webtoon, which is like an online, and
Yes.
it's manhwa, so like Korean manga mostly,
Hmm.
but there was one called, I think it was Flowers of Bomi or Spring of Bomi. It was totally slice of life high schoolers. And I was just like sobbing in my bed at 2 a.m. finishing it. Like, this is adolescence. It's amazing. So I get it.
Absolutely. I know. I read last year, as I look up, I think our son is gay. Beautiful story of like family coming to terms,
Yes.
but not even that. It was just like, hey, look at him. We're gonna let him figure this out. It
Hmm.
just oh, mm,
Yeah.
all
A
good.
beautiful family drama I'm always on
Right.
board for.
Oh, oh, I love that. So I'm like, well, you're gonna get a terrible email after this from me that's just like, hello, here's 800 resources for you to check out.
Please ruin my mailbox with that. That sounds incredible.
Gladly. All right. Well, lightning round, I know we're running out of our time together, but when you go to estate sales and you go thrifting, you often tell the story behind the pieces that you pick up.
Hmm.
Does your love of reading kind of blend into this love to know more?
Oh, yeah. I think curiosity is kind of at the core of all of this and examining why we think the things we think and those kind of things. But I love to tell a story, and that doesn't always come with for reading. I love writing as well and putting together my own stories. So
Yeah.
I think it's important. And also, it's a huge part of fighting against this compulsion of our culture of just consumption and like ravenous taking of things. So I see people at
Yes.
estate sales and they're just like grabbing everything, not thinking about it. And I'm like, let's slow down. Like, what is the story of this home? Let's really talk about it. So maybe I harp on it a little hard in my videos, but it's really in an attempt to push the pendulum the other way and slow
No,
things
but
down.
honestly, even in your most recent video, like today, like this week was the week I finally heard it. As you're standing there, of like, I love this and I love this, but I'm not gonna come home with everything I fell in love with today.
Hmm.
Like because someone else might love it more than me, and I want that person to have a chance of like, we don't have to overconsume and like, yeah, you did need the tied skirt, of course, more than anything,
Yes.
but someone else probably needed the piece you left behind more, that like it was just going to hang in your closet versus them.
Yeah. I think it's really accepting the idea that there will be more goodness for you in the future. And that feels silly to say about like clothing at a thrift store, but it really it affects everything. There will
Right.
always be more. And even with reading, like if you're not digging a book, there are, as we
Plenty of
know, millions,
others.
billions of other stories. So just trust that there's more goodness for you.
Absolutely. There's plenty of goodness out there, and you just have to be willing to snag it when it feels right. Because when like goodness doesn't run out if we remember to practice it. So that
Yeah.
like leaving that piece behind for someone else, if you want to think of it as karma, that the next time you're going to find something that means even more to you, great, that's fine. But also just think altruistically of like, you're creating a little bit of happiness for someone else.
Yeah. I'd like to think that way. for sure.
Do you keep track of all the books you've read?
I do. I do track them. And I haven't always, and I've just
Yeah.
started. So it's not totally up
Ooh.
to date, but yeah.
How are you doing it? Do you have a favorite way? I have a notebook. Like, I've been writing them down since middle school. So
That's amazing. No, it's just digitally to me. And I think it's literally the only habit that I track. Like, I'm not a habit tracker at all,
same.
but this one feels important, mostly because I forget what I've read.
Truly. It's the only way I can be like, not halfway through a book before I go, am I figuring this out because the twists aren't good or because I read it already?
Or because you're incredibly intelligent.
Oh, you're too kind. Okay. Is there one book that you recommend to everyone, or a book that you've gifted most to people, or a book that you want to make sure everyone takes away with them today?
There definitely is another book that I always recommend, specifically to people who like stories like Clara in the Sun or Never Let Me Go, like that kind of speculative fiction. I read The Other Valley, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, by Scott Alexander Howard. And it's one of the books that's just stuck with me for so long. Heartbreaking, a little fantastical and sci-fi, and kind of coming of age and slice of life as well.
I love that. Spec fic is my new genre, because I haven't always been the biggest sci-fi, but then when I realized that like speculative fiction is basically the sci-fi equivalent of magical realism, which I adore.
That's what I was just going to say. Oh my gosh.
Is magical. I went from being the like fantasy kid, but it didn't translate into like a fantasy love as an adult. It translated into magical realism. And so then when I wanted to try to get into sci-fi and try some of the other genres, speculative fiction has been my answer.
I'm so glad. I think that's my favorite genre. Like if we were to really put it into real talk. So I'm so glad to hear that.
Because
Do you have any favorites?
It's still new for me, and of course then I'd need a massive pause, but I'm just like devouring whatever. When that's the only time that if a rec comes through from anyone as speculative fiction, I will at least borrow it so I can go, if I DNF it, I DNF it, but this could give me more terms because I'm still learning to just kind of like find what I like.
Yeah. Okay, if you remember any, send them in that email. I'm totally curious.
I think that's like my learning tip of the day of like, don't be afraid to just kind of mess around for a little bit and find what you like. And what's your favorite thrift find lately or recently?
Gosh. So in the video that you've been referencing, my most recent video, there was a beautiful Australian sweater by the brand of, I learned from Australian viewers because they all kindly told me in the comments, it's pronounced Coogi. So Coogi, I believe. I think it's a lot of people said they recognized it because it's at the end of the movie Sinners. The main character is wearing one of them. They're like really brightly colored and cool, very 90s. So I found one of those. They are very expensive online, and this one was very not expensive. So I snagged it real good and real fast.
And doesn't that just make you happy to see? Because you know it's going to like a home of love where that's going to be worn out.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, before I let you go, because I know I have to, otherwise I will just like keep us talking for the rest of the day. Anything you'd like to mention, throw out there, promote, anything like that?
Gosh, if you like reading or crafting or just general self-expression, exploration with a very low emphasis on making mistakes are totally safe here. Come check out my YouTube channel, Kathleen Illustrated. It'll be a good time. Or just come say hi. That'd be great too.
Yes, come say hi. Kathleen, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today.
Thank you, Joe. It's been such a pleasure. I told you at the beginning, pleasure's all mine. This has been wonderful.
Oh, it means the world. And listeners, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you check out Kathleen's cozy spaces for us online. And as always, happy reading. You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonso. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.